What's something that's clearly a scam but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal?
The country itself, we're run like a cult. Once you're born into it, you can't leave, and when you want to join, it's incredibly hard. You have to vet that you're a good person. You pay money to the higher-ups that you will never get back in your lifetime, despite them promising that you will. You're educated to fit in this tiny box of how they want you to perform as a worker, and any sort of free thought is frowned upon, especially if it's against the establishments. Militant forces that have the right to threaten you with death if you don't comply. Rampant symbolism of the country everywhere you go. Biased and sometimes government-controlled media sources. A punishment system that's allowed to put you to death for crimes you didn't commit. Laws that protect people who intentionally harass and oppress others. Laws that specifically oppress the poor and make sure that they can never get rich. Cultish ideas of leadership and fellowship like the Democratic and Republican parties. Worshipping of inspirational rich people. I could go on for days.
We all have to work until we're 65 years old, or that there's no way to access your retirement accounts until you're 59 and a half, or that miraculously Social Security and Medicare are going to cover all of your costs and give you a dignified retirement.
Okay, I know I look kind of gross. Sorry, I just woke up. But this is something I've actually heard someone talk about on TikTok before, like they've addressed it. But when you go into debt and your debt gets sent to a debt collector, they buy your debt for however much it costs, and then they make money by charging you more money because they bought your debt. So you're only entitled to pay what you actually owe, and sometimes even less than that. Like, I've done research on it and it's true. So if you're being chased after by a debt collector, you need to ask them how much they bought your debt for and then just pay that. You do not have to pay any of the interest because that is not money that you have. You don't have to pay that because they made it up. Like, I'm being serious. Look it up. It's crazy.
Bro, college. I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't until I graduated, thank goodness I had a full 4-year scholarship, that I realized you can make 6 figures with a trade.
I'm British, but I have points to make. Privatised healthcare makes no sense. How are you going back? How are you paying money to give birth? It's beyond me. Yes, you pay less taxes, but if you break your arm, you're bankrupt. Tipping. Why don't you just add it to the bill? We have an automatic service charge in the UK in most restaurants. Guns are for your protection. If no one had guns, you wouldn't need guns to protect yourself from guns. You're protecting yourself from guns. The Electoral College. I'm in my 3rd year of my politics degree and I don't understand how you could vote in someone who doesn't have the most votes. How is that fair? How is that democratic? Having tax or VAT added on when you get to the till and stuff. Surely you just have it on the price tag. I couldn't do that because I'm pretty, so I'm not good at maths. Like, I can't do that quickly. I wouldn't be able to afford things when I got to the till. Just have it on the main price. Just put it on the price tag, okay?
So I've been waiting for this one. So my senior year, I was fortunate enough to study in Europe. Studying there, I did take a few science courses that would typically have really expensive books in the US, like hundreds of dollars, if not more. I ran to the bookstore actually with a list of books, and I showed the worker and I was like, look, I need to buy these for my courses. The person looked at me really confused. They were like, yeah, I could sell you these, or we have all these different libraries on campus that have all the books for all of these courses and every other course. Otherwise, what's the point of having a library? Super fair point. So yeah, having to buy books at US universities, totally a scam. Many of you knew that though.
Social Security. Let me show you why. Say that you were born in 1990, you'll be eligible for Social Security at age 62, and if you were making $60,000 by the time that you retire, your monthly benefit is going to be $1,526. Easy math, that's $18,312 per year. According to the IRS, about 6.2% of your paycheck goes to Social Security. So say that between the years of 16 and 22, you made an average of $25,000 per year. That means that $129.17 are going to go to Social Security per month. And say that between the years of 23 and 62, you made an average of $60,000 per year. That means that $310 are going to be going towards Social Security per month. If we were taught to invest instead, this is how much we would have at the age of 22. If we continue to invest now from 22 to 62, this is how much we would have. You made more smarter than you would with Social Security withdrawing 4% and you're a millionaire.
About a year ago, I started feeling a bit sick and I lost quite a lot of weight in a short amount of time. So I went down and saw my doctor and he said, okay, I'm going to have to send you for some tests. These tests ended up being a full, complete blood work ultrasound of all of my internal organs, CT scans of my organs. I then went to hospital and had a colonoscopy done and an endoscopy to biopsy my stomach. Try and guess how much all of that cost me. I live in Australia, by the way.
The fact that kids are being taught at a young age that in order to be successful in life, you have to go through school and get good grades. And then after 12 years of school, you need to go through more school in order to put yourself into huge amounts of debt to hopefully get a piece of paper that will allow you to hopefully get a job that you end up hating, making money for somebody else. And in order to get these good grades, we're going to put these 9, 10, 11-year-olds on huge amounts of legal amphetamines so they can get these good grades and become robots for society.
Betta fish are a scam. Betta fish need at least 3 gallons, if not 5 to 10, of tank space, not the tiny little bowls that they sell marketed to betta fish. They're also tropical, so they need a heater, and they're carnivores, so they need to eat meat. The reason why they sell them to you in those tiny little cups and they give you those flakes with plant matter and stuff in them is because betta fish are pretty, so even when they're sick, they're still going to be pretty. And guess what? They're going to die faster. And what happens when your fish dies? You go back and you buy more. Here's an example of a minimal tank set up for a betta fish. It's 3 gallons, it's got some planks for him to hang out on, it's got a heater. That's it. They also need clean water, not water filled with their own pee and poop. So being in a tank like this, or like this, or like this, it's like being trapped in a see-through porta potty.
The fact that we spend 20 to 30 years paying on a house, and then after we get done paying on the house, they expect us to pay taxes on the house that we just paid 20 to 30 years paying on.
There's so many, but I'm going to give you the top that really pissed me off. The first one is the fact that you can't put your parents, your grandparents, or your siblings on your health insurance. So if you have a great job with great insurance and your siblings are young or something's wrong or your parents something, you can't put them on. They'd rather you go to the government, get assistance, get Medi-Cal, Medicare, take other people's tax money instead of you paying for them out of your pocket. The second thing is that in America, 18 is considered an adult, right? But they still use your parents' income to determine if you're able to pay for college. The third one that I think is mind-blowing is that we have to pay for water.
That tipped workers make less than minimum wage. Like much of America's history, tipping has a racist legacy, so let's talk about how we got here. Tipping showed up in America after the Civil War because wealthy Americans who were vacationing in Europe wanted to seem sophisticated. But America in general actually hated the concept of tipping. They thought of it as classist and condescending. They disliked it so much that that dislike actually spread to Europe, and as a result, Europe doesn't customarily tip anymore. They pay their servers minimum wages. Why isn't it that way in America? Because slavery had just ended, and in the hospitality sector, employers didn't want to pay former slaves, so they let them work just off of tips with no wages. When restaurant owners finally figured out how much they had to gain from this, they lobbied really hard and made sure that when the 1938 Fair Labor and Standards Act was introduced, it excluded tipped workers from a minimum wage.
That you have to work 9 to 5 or just 8 hours a day in order to simply survive, and you have to do that 5 out of 7 days of a week, and that your life basically doesn't belong to you because you have to do that if you wish to eat, to have a home, to do anything. And in order to actually get that job, you also have to go to school for at least 4 years, and you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to even get started. Goodbye.
Baby girl, I'm just waking up and I already know. Let's discuss. Insurance has to be the biggest scam ever, and we just act like it's normal. Let me grab my rope and coal. Okay, first off is health insurance. So you mean to tell me that I'm paying for insurance for my health, yet somehow my vision and my teeth aren't included in my health? Those are separate insurances. Make it make sense. And honestly, car insurance might be worse. I am forced to pay for insurance every month for my car. But if I get into an accident, I have to pay more on top of that to cover the insurance that I pay every month. And then the amount that I pay every month might go up because I got into an accident that I pay for every month to cover if I get into an accident. I'm done. Your life? I'm gonna need that.
Calling ourselves Americans, citizens of the United States calling themselves Americans. It's not necessarily true. This entire hemisphere is full of Americans, South Americans, Central Americans, and North Americans. We are not the owners of the term American.